growth is slow and steady. It's definitely not that kind of hockey stick boom. A lot of people are disappointed when they don't see that. Slow and steady, but constant growth is just as impressive. You should always be very data-led. Otherwise, you can't really make an informed decision.
Hey everyone, today's guest went from intern to CEO of a global SaaS company, transforming the tutoring industry. Tom, Hamilton Stubber, is the CEO of TutorCruncher, a B2B SaaS platform used by over 800 tutoring companies across the world. With offices in London and Chicago, Tom leads a tight-knit team, building tools for tutor management, lesson scheduling, payments, and most recently, as you guessed, an AI-powered assistant for educators. In today's episode, we talk about building product-led companies, how to enter the US market, the human side of edtech, and why Gen Z team culture can be both a blessing and a test. Tom, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Tom, let's start off. You started as an intern. How did you end up as CEO? What's the magic formula out there?
I started as an intern, but I always wanted to do software development. So I saved up to come to London to do that. I managed to luckily get a job here at TutorCruncher. After that, I worked in a few different roles because we were a team of 2 or 3 at the time. So I worked in sales, support, and development. So I really got a feel for how all the departments worked, and then kind of kept going after that. And as we hired more people, they always ended up under me. And then eventually the founders moved on to other things.
And there you are. You stayed, you persisted. But why you, Tom? Why not anyone else? Why not Joe Blogg from some other department? What did the founder see in you?
I do think about the holistic image of the business, and I think about all the ways we could do everything. It's not just, I don't just focus on one department. Founders liked the fact that I was very much product led. I wanted to build a really good product and a really good team. So that's what they saw in me. That's what allowed me to, become CEO.
Okay. And where are the founders today? What kind of role or engagement do they have in the day-to-day running?
In our business?
Company?
We have a quarterly review in which we chat through the numbers and that kind of stuff, and they're always on hand for advice. One of them has moved to Scotland and now farms, so he's loving that. And the other has started a new company called Pydantic. So they've started a new AI company. So they're always on hand and have very good perspectives on things.
Understood. Seen this so many times. You're in a dev role. The mindset of a developer is so different. So what have you learned going from a dev to leadership?
First of all, you have to be a lot less focused on making everything very perfect. A lot of developers are very much perfectionists. A lot of developers find it very difficult to think of things from the user's point of view, develop a product in the way they think it should be used, not the way that the user thinks it should be used. So that's definitely a switch. Also accepting that other people are better than you at things. Like as a developer, you always think you're a really good developer. But as a leader, you have to say, right, okay, this person is a much better salesperson than I am. This person is much better on support. This person is much better at design. So investing in those people and taking their advice on board, but also not just giving all the decisions to them, making sure that you stay on top and you know what you're doing.
Good. And what do you think are the top 3 qualities a successful leader needs to have?
Vision, being able to see the whole company is definitely a big one for me. That's probably the most important. Being patient with your team is really important. Knowing who to hire is probably one of the big ones. I always say at TutorCruncher, we have an amazing team, and that's something we focus on quite heavily. So building a really good team and vision is probably my top 2, and being product led. But that's many businesses work in different ways. Me from a developer background, I'm always going to be very product led.
Fantastic. Yes, and recruiting the right people are so important, right? Especially in your industry. What kind of qualities or traits did you look out for?
So we have hired mainly graduates in the past. So knowledge isn't hugely important to me to begin with. It's someone who's really bright, really keen to build their career. We're not looking for someone who just wants to work 9 to 5 and then drop off. Obviously, our team does that, and we're very good on kind of personal and work boundaries. But I'm looking for someone who is thinking about the next 5 years at TutorCruncher and the way they can expand their role and the way the company can grow. I want someone who's going to come to us with ideas, and finding that person during the interview process is sometimes tricky. But we haven't had someone resign from a position here in 3 years. So we have really good staff churn, and that's because we always pick the right people.
Talk to me a little more about the selection criteria. Process out there. I'm really curious right now. I'm pretty sure the audience
knows. There's nothing wholly tangible. It's just about, we don't do a huge amount of interviews. We do 3 interviews, but it's definitely asking the right questions during an interview and building on trying to find the thing that person is passionate about, getting them to talk about that, because when someone's not passionate about anything, they're definitely the wrong person for your team. We also have some silly riddles that we give them to see how they logic through a puzzle and that kind of stuff. But mainly it's just chatting to them and finding out if you think that they are someone who will work hard with you.
Got it. It's a passion. That's what I'm hearing out there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
To me, what's one thing you know about SaaS leadership that no one prepared you for?
Probably growth is slow and steady. I think a lot of people think that growth is like you'll see that kind of hockey stick boom. It's definitely not. And a lot of people are probably a bit more disappointed when they don't see that. But it's really important to recognize that slow and steady But constant growth is just as impressive, if not more impressive, than kind of raising loads of money in a flashy way and then not having a product that makes the revenue you thought it would.
Yes, and that's so important, right? Because through my practice, and people underestimate what they can achieve in a decade, right? Compared to what they overestimate in a year. You're not an overnight success like how we see on the TikTok reels, Instagram stories out there. So you're pretty much to the grind out there.
Absolutely. We're a bootstrapped company, so we've never raised money. So every financial decision, every hire is thought about a lot. That's really important because hiring the wrong person for us is 6 months work basically down the drain. It's definitely making sure that everyone's working hard and doing the right thing, but also that is rewarding because you do see constant good growth.
Got it. And let's talk about TutorCruncher, right? What does TutorCruncher actually do and who is it built for?
Sure. So we are a business management platform for tutoring companies. So we do those companies who ring up and say, I need a tutor for my son who needs help with his maths homework. That tutoring company is who our client is. So they use our platform to store all their client, student, tutor details, to book lessons, for the tutors to log their hours, write lesson reports, and to taking payment for the lessons and paying the tutors. So everything, the whole company is run from within TutorCruncher.
Got it. And you're pretty much global, right? I think massive presence in the US and obviously in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, North America, some in the Middle East and the UK.
And talk to me, how easy was it to break into those markets?
Well, the UK wasn't too bad because we've always been London based and we grew out of a tutoring company who has now closed down, who was in London. So we had the contacts here and it's still a really good growth market for us, the UK, because there's loads of, and the industry has changed so much, but we can get into that later. The UK is still a growth market. The US has been a lot harder to break into. We knew we needed an office over there when our conversion rate was just so rubbish there because Americans like to buy from an American. Australians they'll stay up to 3 a.m. to have a demo with us because that's just, they're obviously used to that from where they are. Americans definitely need someone here. And that was really difficult for us breaking into the US because we have an office of 2 over there. Having them know how we work is just really difficult from an 8-hour time difference.
Got it. And after US, what's the other biggest market you'll have apart from?
Yeah, after the US and Canada, probably the Middle East is definitely the biggest up and coming market. The way they deal with software is slightly different there. And the next step will probably be going to kind of Southeast Asia, the tutoring market. And education is looked at so differently in East Asia. It's so much, they think about it in a much more impressive way, which is great. Very serious about education. And there's a lot more tutoring that goes on there per person. So that's the next step.
Got it. And why would anyone want to use TutorCruncher and not do that maybe on their own or, go to your competition?
We have a couple of competitors and a couple more have sprung up in the last year, which is fantastic for us because it shows that the tutoring industry is really getting serious. But our software is the most feature rich, most comprehensive. There are loads of benefits. The main benefit, if you look at all our reviews, is that our support's amazing. And that's, again, hiring great staff. So our support team, they don't just help you navigate TutorCruncher, but a lot of people are asking questions like, oh, how do I get more clients? How do I find more tutors? And that stuff we generally give a hand with as well. Or like, how do I file my tax return? That kind of stuff. We give support for businesses from business of 1 tutor to a business of thousands.
Understood. And how big is the business today, the tutoring business today, in terms of revenue or reach, or both actually?
The industry?
Yes.
It's really difficult to tell. Numbers have been thrown about, but it looks like in the UK, it's kind of 2.5 billion. But since it's changing at the minute because of the VAT change for private schools in the UK, I don't know if you're aware of that. Obviously, most people are. And so tutoring is seeing a big increase in that. And actually, we're talking about that. Well, the Tutors Association, of which I'm a part, is a kind of pseudo regulatory body in the UK for tutors. I'm a board member of that as well. And we're talking to the BBC later about that and the growth we're seeing because of the change in VAT. So it'll be really interesting to see those figures.
Got it. And in the US, how big is that now?
We have absolutely no idea.
No idea. That's fine.
We're taking punts, but the problem is in the US that the tutoring industry is it's so unregulated. And in the UK, we have the Tutors Association, and a lot of tutoring companies are part of that. In the US, tutoring companies don't like to talk to each other. We've hosted events over there and tried to get people along, and they all say, why do I want to talk to my competitors? And it's so hard to get through to them that you're actually going to get a lot more than you lose. But it's so hard. So we estimate there's about 10,000 tutoring companies over there, and it's about 10 times the size of the UK market. So hopefully 10 times the size of the UK market is 25 billion, but we have no idea for sure. It's really difficult to tell.
But I'm aware of that on private schools. What's the relationship between that? And you said you'll have seen an increase in tutoring.
Obviously, parents are looking at the cost of private schools and thinking, is this actually the best route forward for my child financially? Am I better to hire a tutor 3 nights a week to make sure that my child is still getting the quality of education they're getting in a private school? So we're seeing an increase.
While they go to grammar school or state school, you mean?
Exactly, yeah. So they go to grammar state school and then have tutors on the side because education is much more effective when it's individualized.
Oh, yes.
So a one-on-one tutor-to-student relationship is much more effective than a 15-to-1 that you'd get in a private school.
What are you most excited about this year?
Well, the AI product that we're bringing out, we've got in beta at the minute, is a new product offering for us. We haven't had a new product offering in quite a long time. So that's really exciting. So as you said at the beginning of the show, it's an educational assistant for tutors. So lesson plans, pre-planning and course planning, and then lesson notes, like a summary taker that a lot of people are using on their sales calls or other calls, but structured around tutoring. So giving really good educational advice, monitoring how the student's progress is going, helping out the tutor by telling them things that perhaps the student could need extra help with, or even ways they can improve, and outlining a student's performance over a much longer time period. So being able to say, right, okay, in the past year, this student has seen growth in these areas and could do better in this area. We know exams are coming back, so here's some things you might want to go back onto. So it's stuff that tutors can currently do themselves. It's just that this makes it much easier for them and takes out the admin burden. Because for a tutor, admin is like a huge part of their job, lesson planning and doing proper lesson reports after a lesson happens and making sure that the student has caught up to date with everything for their exams and that kind of stuff. And then, the next stage will be bringing that to schools as well. So we're really excited for this year.
Students are saying, I can learn this from ChatGPT or Perplexity. Why do I need a tutor? Have you all seen that kind of challenge?
The self-motivated learners market is wildly different for AI. Don't think there are many 12-year-olds that want to learn something off the bat from a computer, personally. And we've seen that anyway in evidence. But there's always there's always a market for education being human-led. And we all want education to be human-led throughout. We never want to give all the learning away to computers, so we want to make sure that's always there.
How do you all balance that human tech innovation with human connection?
We just make sure that our product is there to help the tutor and to give the tutor as much feedback as possible rather than replacing them.
And what's your kind of vision? You're into product, right? For how AI and tutoring evolve together?
Tutoring is always about your one-on-one tutoring, especially, is always about the individualized learning experience. As I said previously, that will continue to evolve. Tutoring is just going to get much more effective, in my opinion. But rather than tutoring changing massively, I think education is just going to change massively. So the classroom will change to be that model instead of it being the days of teaching a class of 20 all the same way are kind of going to disappear when you have students. Every student will be able to learn differently in the classroom through AI. So there's alpha schools and people like that who are coming across who are student has like 2 hours intense learning with an AI plus tutors on the side. So the AI says, right, go and speak to Mr. Jones. He's going to help you with these maths problems, and then come back. And then they spend the rest of the day kind of doing group projects and other things. So the individualized learning experience, which tutoring can already deliver, will come to the wider education world.
Yes. Speaking of alpha schools, I love the one that they're doing in California, the way they've kind of changed all that. I'm not sure if you've...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. And where do you think TutorCruncher is actually maybe leaving money on the table, for want of a better phrase?
That's a good question. Previously, our competitors, who, fair enough, aren't as feature rich as us and everything, they charge a lot less their product. So we found it very difficult to compete. We found it difficult to put our prices probably where we want them and where we think we deserve to, because our competitors have been so much cheaper. I mean, they are much more simple products, but it's very hard. You have customers who are looking at 2 pricing pages to be much cheaper. So probably our prices could be higher, and we've got 2 new players this year who have prices similar to ours. So that's really great. So that's one space. Other than that, we could be probably growing faster in the US, but more we want to move into the wider education space. We don't just want to be for tutoring. We have other products we can deliver. And we're really keen to get onto those.
As a CEO, what's the hardest decision you've ever made?
Letting go of people is always difficult. So we've had 2 or 3 people over the past 3 years who we've had to let go. More often than not, when you look back and seriously evaluate your performance as a business, you realize that actually probably you shouldn't have pulled that person on in the first place. Hindsight is always 20/20, but making sure that you reevaluate that going forward is really difficult. But it's always, for me, bringing people on, it's the relationship between the employer and employee, is that both parties are getting the best that they can out of the other. And if either party ceases to have that at any point, then that's the time to break the relationship.
Very good. And what's your approach to building high performing teams, high performing individuals?
Basically, just remembering that they are human beings always helps. When I first came on as CEO and I was hiring people, I was thinking I kind of budgeted for them being 100% active, 100% good all the time at the best they can be. Whenever that isn't, I'm looking for kind of an 80% on average workload for them rather than that 100%. So that always helps. And being flexible with people is really great. And also asking them for their ideas. That's when someone works here for the first year, they're just trying to do their normal job, but trying to give them more responsibility and say, "Oh, have you thought about the wider idea? How the company's running?" Really helps. Having meetings where we talk about the entire company and not just their role really helps as well. And the difference, it always happens about 18 months or 2 years into a role, people switch and they start thinking, "Oh, actually, my job could be much better if I did this, 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 and this." It's such a difference. And it always happens and it's always great.
Got it. In terms of scaling a business, to someone listening in, what kind of advice you would give them?
Well, you should always be very data led. There's a lot of people out there who kind of have ideas but don't have the numbers to back it up. Building really good reporting for your business sounds really boring, but is really, really important. And a lot of people don't do that. When you're data led, can be much more committed to a plan. You can say, right, this is how much money we're currently making, how much we can donate to that, we can put aside for this new project, how much money you think that's going to make. You trust your plan a lot more. You're a lot more committed to it. You're a lot more stable. And then when other opportunities come up, you can properly evaluate whether the opportunity is right for you. Otherwise, you just don't have an accurate idea of how the business is performing and you can't really make an informed decision.
Very important. Always good to take an objective view rather than a subjective view. Right. And talk to me about LinkedIn, right? You admitted you're bad at LinkedIn. What's holding you back now?
I'm just one of those people who really hates putting themselves out there online, whether it was Facebook or Bebo when I was younger. I never hated posting, hated all of it. It's something that I recognize as really important. And I love reading a lot of the stuff people put on LinkedIn, but it's something I get told off by our marketing guru repeatedly for not doing, but it's just not very me, quite a private person.
Understood. And does TutorCruncher need a stronger brand right now?
Our branding is really strong, but if we're going to move into the wider education space, then we need to be more out there to educational leaders. We started in 2025 our Leaders in Tutoring series. So we've done events, meetups, online interviews, lots of things like that. And that's really helping as well.
Got it. And what's one mistake that made you better where you are today?
So we have quite a few legacy features in our platform that are like mad, that only were effective for like one business way back when. But then some people are using them in bad ways, so we can't really get rid of them. But don't take everyone's. We have a lot of people who come to us and say, right, every business needs this feature, so you definitely need to build it. And therefore we built it. And it turns out no one else needed that feature. So that's something I would take into account if we were starting again.
Interesting. How do you actually take on the next enhancement and next feature? What's the process within TutorCruncher?
We have a few things. People obviously make feature requests and we store all that in database, and we take on board sales data. So we use note takers for our sales calls, and we use AI to figure out what the most requested features for there is, or what the most things, they might not be decision makers for those customers, but they do make a difference. And also then figuring out what we can make more money on. Frankly, that's, if we could charge extra for a feature, that's great. If there's stuff that customers are leaving us over, then that's obviously easy as well.
Understood. You were speaking about dashboards earlier. What's kind of the most underrated metrics when it comes to SaaS?
That's a good question. I mean, customer churn is probably something people don't really look at. Revenue churn especially. How much money they're losing from customers who leave you. So that's really important, because if you don't look at that, then basically people have decided to leave you by the time you get that figure. So therefore you need to be reviewing that figure so that you can start proactively trying to figure out why people are leaving you. So that's probably one of the most underrated.
Got it. And what's your kind of favorite productivity hack for yourself as an CEO or an entrepreneur?
At the minute, it's just working all hours to try and get stuff done. We currently have people in the office 2 days a week, and that is really great because it lets me on those other 3 days get like quite a lot done without being interrupted by everyone asking me for things. So that's not really a hack, but it does make a big difference. I mean, those 2 days are really important in the office because we get loads of creative stuff done, but having those other days of pure productivity is a big difference.
How do you all maintain the culture within the team?
The extracurricular activities we do, as I call them, are really good. So last night we did a whole board game night, which everyone attended, which was really popular. So I got that was kind of our first real one of that. And we got loads of really positive feedback this morning based on that. So that was really great. We do a trip away once a year. That's really important. We have stand-ups every morning. It's basically just making sure people have as much contact as possible and asking people about how their lives are so everyone shares. That's really important too. People just want to talk about how they can make more money. Whereas education, it's all very much about how we can provide the best education to the students. Everyone are all business people. They're wanting to form successful businesses, but the focus is on the end product, which is delivering really great education.
Got it. And what's your kind of favorite book you would recommend to someone listening in who wants to start off the journey?
So I very much use books to escape from reality rather than something I get inspiration for my work life. So I can't really recommend a huge amount there in terms of books, but I really like the Secret Leaders podcast by Dan Murray. Have you listened to that? It's really, really good. It's from CEOs, ex-CEOs, founders, how they grew their businesses, and it's really great. There's loads of episodes on that. He actually ended it in 2025, so I'm on the hunt for my next podcast, but I haven't managed to find one yet.
Okay, got it. And I'll make a point to listen to that one. How do you stay ahead of, you said you have competition coming through, of market disruptions and evolving customer needs?
We just make sure we listen to our customers. So making sure we have the product that's right for them. It's important to remember that education, as with every other sector, evolves as time goes on. So don't be afraid to change things and to listen to people. It's quite new legislation comes into education a lot. So making sure on top of that as well. And talking to our customers and making sure those relationships are still great. As I said, our reviews are all focused on how good our support is. So that at a wider level is our customer relationships. So making sure those customer relationships are still great.
Amazing. Closest to the customer, you can understand what they want next.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Tom, great having you. That's a wrap for today. Thank you very much.
Lovely to chat to you, Samat. Thank you very much.